Hey guys, I welcome you all to yet another episode from K21 Academy, where we take you in a journey from complete beginner to a certified professional. In this episode, we will be talking about CI/CD pipeline using Jenkins. We will be seeing Jenkins CI/CD demo using Azure and Azure DevOps. Let's hear from our expert on the same.
Let's see Jenkins. So when you go to jenkins.io, so this is your official repository of Jenkins, right? So if you want to actually download Jenkins, then click on this download option. And here you have two types of version, which is stable version, long-term support, and regular releases. The difference between these two is regular releases will happen every 1 week, you will get an update. Stable releases will take every 3 months to generate an update. Whichever you want, you can download it. And Jenkins, as I said, supports multiple platforms, right? So whichever platform you belong to, you can click on that and you can download and install Jenkins. So here I am trying to install Jenkins on an Ubuntu platform, right? So for example, I'm using an Azure. As I said, I'm not an AWS guy, so please don't expect me to create a EC2 and all. I am 100% Azure, so I'm working on Azure over here. So this is my own Azure space. So I'm trying to create a new virtual machine, okay, to create a Jenkins. So I'm just creating a new resource group called as Jenkins demo, and I'm creating a machine called as Jenkins demo 123. Okay, and I'm just taking Ubuntu 20, and rest of the things are all fine. And I'm using a password for this, so which is Jenkins user. Here, I'm trying to show how to install Jenkins, right? So I'm using an Ubuntu. Similarly, you can use Windows as well. So you can use Windows means just click on this Windows so that automatically the Jenkins.exe will be downloaded. You just need to use next, 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 and then install, right? So here I'm trying to use Ubuntu. So I've created an Ubuntu machine. I'm just trying to connect it using an SSH. So I'm just copying that server name, SSH, and then I'm giving that yes, and okay, so now I am inside this Jenkins server. Okay, if I type a uname, then it's Linux. So it is, I am inside a Jenkins server now. Now I need to install, before installing Jenkins, what I said, without that Jenkins will not work. What is that? So without Java, Jenkins will not work. So I have to install Java now. So just write some commands like to install Java. So I'm just first trying to do an update of my system. And then the one command to install Java is sudo apt install default JDK. That's all. So Jenkins, by default, if you see Jenkins installation is done, right? I can see the Jenkins service is being active and everything. And Jenkins by default runs on which port? I'm using an IP address of my VM, and then I'm using 8080, but still my Jenkins is not coming up. So on the networking, I have to open the port number 8080. If you see on the 8080 port number is not opened over here. So I need to open the port 8080. I'm just trying to add it. Long back I have done all these things in EC2, but I totally forgot how it will be on AWS. Sorry, but I have done this maybe 3-4 years back in AWS. The same things. Okay, good. So I've added the 8080 port. Now if I refresh it, Jenkins should be up and running. See, now this is your Jenkins initial page. Whenever you install Jenkins on the first time, you will be asked for your secret, which is your administrator key. And this will tell you where is that initial admin password will be. So it is present on this particular path. So copy this path and go to the particular server and type sudo cat and then the path. And this is going to be my administrative password for the first time. Okay. Copy this and paste it over here and click on continue. Now this is going to be your setup wizard where you just choose two options. Either you can select your plugins to install or install automatically the suggested plugins. So always go with the suggested plugin so that by default whatever is required like Git and LDAPs and folders, SSH, GitHub, and Maven, everything will be automatically installed by these plugins. If not, what you have to do, you have to choose each and everything and then install the plugins, which will take a long time, right? So that's the reason. Click on suggested plugin so that it takes care of automatically installing everything on its own, and your Jenkins will be ready in the next 5 minutes. Good. So it will be done in another minute. So in the meantime, let me open a GitHub, and this is my GitHub. Okay. And this is the hello world program where if you see, I have this Maven file, which is a pom.xml. Okay. So this pom.xml is actually used for Java compilation where I'm trying to convert it into a web app and convert it into a war file. Okay, this is a pom.xml file where I'm trying to convert it into a war file. And I'm using this as a compilation one to create a war file, and I'm going to deploy it on a particular server. Okay, so what I need to do, I need to copy this particular URL. So click on this code and copy this HTTPS URL, keep it ready. Now when your Jenkins is ready, okay, so my Jenkins is ready. I'm trying to create a first admin user, so I'm just giving it name as admin and admin 123 and then admin 123 and then admin at admin.com, whatever this. And then I'm clicking on save and continue. So this is my Jenkins URL and then save and finish. So now your Jenkins is ready. Okay. So this will be your entry page for Jenkins. Okay. Now I need to tell where and all my particular tools have been installed and other things and all, right? So so I need to know where is my Java path, okay? Because I said with Jenkins should know where is Java installed. If not, Jenkins will not work. So I'm copying my Java path and then I'm going to manage Jenkins. And under global tool configuration, I need to tell where the Java is installed. So JDK installation, and I'm giving Java home, and this is where my this is where my Java is installed. Okay. Okay. So where is Java? I need the full path. So here, if you see, I'm just saying Maven home, and then I'm clicking on automatically install. So it takes care of automatic installations, and Git also. I'm just giving install automatically, except Java. I'm just trying to give the path alone. So my initial setup configurations on Jenkins and all is done, complete. Now, if I want to create a new project or a new build job, right? So I need to click on new item, and you have multiple options over here, right? So I am just choosing a freestyle. Freestyle means I can customize anything I want, right? So clicking on OK, and the second tab for me is source code management. Under Git, I am trying to give the Git repository URL which I have copied it over here. So this is my Git repository URL. This is how I'm connecting Git with Jenkins. That's all. Since it is my public repository, I don't need a username password. If it is going to be your private repository, then you need to add your username password over here. Okay. But since it is my public repository, I don't need a username password. Anyone can access it. That's all. This is the only thing that I'm doing it over here. And by default, I'm choosing a master branch because I have only one branch with me. If you have a develop branch, you can just change it to develop. Or since here I have only master branch, I'm just typing it as master. So now if you see, I'm just connecting my Jenkins with Git repository and giving a master branch, clicking on save, and then I'm trying to build now. So what happens now, the repository code will be pulled into my Jenkins server. If I click on it, this is the repository which I have given, cloning of repository, and automatically the state is success. Now when I go to this particular path in my build server, this is my Jenkins server. So I'm going to this particular path, and then if you see here, my repository code is being pulled over here, right? So this is done with the help of the Git. Now my repository code is pulled over here. With the help of pom.xml, I need to now run the Maven commands, which is mvn compile, mvn build, and mvl package. So next what I'm going to do, again, I'm going to this particular job and I'm clicking on configure again. So first time I just did the source code checkout alone, nothing else I did. Now I need to go to the build step over here. And here I have this option called as top 11 Maven Parag. This is a plugin, right? So when I click on this Maven home is the thing that you are given during your Jenkins setup. So what are all the goals? Here I am saying mvn clean and then compile and then package. So these are three different commands. So either I can do like this. So I can try to give each and every command separately, or I can give it with the help of a space also. It's my choice, right? So I don't want to waste multiple lines. So I'm just trying to give in a single line. So clean, compile, and package. So clean will clean my particular workspace, compile will compile my code, and package will make it as a WAR file. Now I'm clicking on save, and again I'm trying to build it. What happens here, sorry, in this, you cannot see that WAR file generated, right? This is my checkout of my file. So once after the build is completed, I will be able to see a WAR file that is generated on this output, right? So if I click on this, if you see here, the Maven build is happening. So this is a build of Maven that is happening for me, and I'm trying to create a WAR file and a jar file both. So this is a Maven steps that is happening over here. And once if it is completed, I will be able to see a success message with the WAR file and the jar file. So this is my build step. First step, what I did is my checkout. The next step, what I'm going to do is my build step. The third step, what I'm going to do is create an artifact and store it on the Jenkins. See, the build is success and the project is success. Now, if I go here under the workspace, under this, under the target, I will be able to see a var file. Right. Similarly, if I go to the server, this is the same server. If I go here under web app, under target, I can see a var file which is generated over here. Right? So this var file I need to create as an artifact, and then I need to show it over here. Now if you see, I can see only the workspace, I can see the recent changes, but I need the var file to be coming over here uh, as an artifact. So that var file should show me over here as an artifact. That is called as my artifact selection. Right? So how will I do that? That is going to be my third step. So again, I'm going to configure my project. I'm going to the build step. So this is a build step. Next is my post build actions. Inside the post build actions, I need to archive the artifacts. This is one plugin which is archiving of artifacts. What do I need to archive? Star star slash star dot var. What do you mean by star star? If I do a PWD over here, if you see, this is my workspace. Okay, so my var file is under one directory and another sub-level directory. Under this only I have a var file. So if I give a star star, it penetrates into directory, into directory, into directory, and then I'm just giving an extension called as star.var. So wherever there is a var file, it tries to take it and then archives it. Right? That is called as star star slash star dot star. Because I don't know where is the path, so I can just give it a star star, so that starting from here 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 directories it will penetrate, and wherever there is a var file it will try to capture it and then it will try to archive it. That is this concept. So I'm trying to save it, and now if you see here, it is empty. Okay, once if I run this, I will be able to see the artifacts saved over here. Right, so let me build it again. Now this is the third time my build is running. If you see a green color, which means my build is successful. If you see a red color, my build is failed. Right, now if you see here, again my build is successful. When I come out, see this. So my artifacts are stored over here. Right, this is a 3-step for me, which is a CI process. So I have checked out the repository, have used a Maven commands to build the code, and then I am creating a var file, and third step is I'm archiving it as an artifact. Now this artifact I need to deploy it into any of the server. Since it is a var file, I need to deploy it into a web server. Then only I will be able to see the output of this particular var file. So whatever we have done here is just a CI step, right? Next we need to do a CD, where I told you I need to install it into a web server container or other things. For that I need to install a plugin called as deploy to a container. So I'm going to a main Jenkins, and under manage Jenkins I have this option called as manage plugins. So click on the manage plugins, and available section, you can see list of all the plugins that is available in the world. Okay, here whatever plugins I need, I can just try to use it. So if I want a Docker plugin, I can use Docker, or if I want a AWS plugin, I can use AWS. If I want a Azure plugin, I can type Azure. Anything, it will come over here. In this case, I need a container plugin. So deploy to container. This is the plugin. If you see, this plugin allows you to deploy a var file to a container after a successful build. Let it be any container, Glassfish or a Tomcat or anything. So I need this particular plugin. I'm clicking on it, and then install without restart. If you do an install with restart, then the Jenkins will restart every time. I don't need that. So I'm just choosing install without restart, so that automatically the plugins, if you see here, it is getting installed. Now plugins are installed for me. Click on top of the page, and then you can go to this particular job and configure under post build actions. Here you will see one more option called as deploy var file or EAR file to a container. Okay, here I just need to give the same path. Where is my var file? Okay, and what is a container? I have a Glassfish, which is another web server. I have a JBoss, an application server. I have a Tomcat, which is my web server. So in this case, I'm going to use a Tomcat server. Okay, and this Tomcat server needs your credentials and everything. So this step is still pending for me, right? because we have just created a Jenkins server. We did not install Tomcat, nothing over here, right? So now we need to install Tomcat on the Jenkins server, or you can install Tomcat on a separate server. That is your wish. But since it is a demo, I'm just trying to install Tomcat on the same server because I don't want to create another VM and other things, right? So to install the Tomcat server, these are all the commands which I have pasted it over there. So I'm creating a new directory, temp. So that's where I'm going to this configuration, and under the server.xml, I have this port number called as 8080, right? Which is, sorry, this is the port number by default for Tomcat, which is 8080. But 8080 is already used by Jenkins, so I need to erase it and then make it to 8090. Okay, and then I'm trying to save this file, and then I need to restart the Tomcat. So to restart the Tomcat, I'm going to the bin location, and there will be two files, which is shutdown.sh and startup.sh. These two are the files which is generally used to shut down and start up my Tomcat. So I'm just running shutdown.sh and then startup.sh. So it says Tomcat is started. Now, when I go to the same IP address of my VM and then type 8090, so again I have to go to the networking and then add this 8090 to that. So these will be some of the questions that they will ask you on an interview, like will it work, what is the ones that I'm missing, and other things. But I think you guys are already using this a lot, so it might be pretty much easy for you guys. See, I'm creating a dummy pipeline called as freestyle project and demo 2. Okay. Now this is my empty dummy pipeline. Source code management, I'm not giving none because I don't need to have a source code for here. Okay. Now on the build environment also, I don't need anything. Under the build, I'm just looking for some command called as execute shell or execute batch command or whatever it is. Like if I want PowerShell, then I need to install that plugin. In this case, I'm executing a shell command. So here I'm just saying git clone xyz. Now git copy, sorry, not git copy, copy xyz to abc, and then delete xyz. Let it be a 3-step commands, right? Now I am actually sending an email notification for this. Okay, abc@gmail.com. Done. This is my pipeline. Okay. Now, if the same pipeline, if I want to run it like every 1 hour or something, that is where your triggers comes in. In the build trigger, I'm just saying build periodically. So I'm just using a cron job. With this, I'm just trying to use only commands, which is a scripting commands, whatever it is, and then I'm sending a notification, and then I'm trying to run it every 1 minute or 2 minutes or 1 hour or whatever it is, and then I'm saving it. So what happens? This pipeline runs every minute, doing the same step again and again and again. Whatever you want to do, it will do it. This is a pipeline. So now let's finish this Tomcat quickly. So I've installed Tomcat and then I've started the Tomcat, and this is my Tomcat homepage and everything, right? Now I need to go into this old project and configure step under the post build actions. I need to use this deploy var or EAF file, and here I'm just copying the same star.star.var. In the container, I'm just using Apache Tomcat 9 version because I'm using a 9th version of Tomcat over here. You can see it over here. I'm using Apache Tomcat 9. So I'm using this 9 over here. But what is a Tomcat URL? This is my Tomcat URL. So I'm just copying it and pasting it over here. One step is missing, which is this one, credential. So I need a admin credentials to deploy it. So if I click on this manager app, you can see this option, which is, how do I see here? You need to have a manager GUI with the username and password and everything, right? And this can be found in this particular file called as tomcatusers.xml. This is a file where you can have this admin username, password, and everything, right? So I need to go to this configuration folder, cd configuration folder, and under here I have this file called as tomcatusers.xml, right? So I'm going here, and by default everything will be highlighted, and these are all the different types of roles and everything that I have, right? Now I have a custom role which is mainly used for your deployment and everything. I'm just going to copy that role. So let me go to this home page and search for DevOps project Tomcat. Okay, so this is the role that I need to copy. The same thing which is given on the one where I'm using an admin username, admin password with all these particular things, right? So I'm just copying this and I'm going over here, and then I'm trying to paste it. Okay, I'm trying to paste it over here. Now everything is done. I've copied and pasted the roles, and okay, so I'm saving it. Now again I have to restart the Tomcat server to make it effective. So I'm again going to the bin and then doing shutdown.sh and startup.sh. Okay, now I have a username password called as admin and admin. So now I need to configure it on my Jenkins, right? So I'm going to Jenkins, and here the username password, I'm just clicking on add and click on Jenkins, and here I need to add a username and password, which is admin admin, and this is what is a use Tomcat. This is used for Tomcat deployment, and then I'm clicking on add. So now automatically the admin username will be given over here, and all the setup of my Tomcat is done, right? So now again let me try to deploy it. I'm trying to build now. So once if it is deployed, this war file has to go inside this Tomcat container, and I should be able to see the output, right? But it got failed. Why? What happened? Okay. So it is actually saying this error. But what types of rights issue is, there is an option over here by default when you install Tomcat, right? It will allow you to install, or it will allow you to deploy only from your local system, which is 127.0.0.1. So only from the local host you can try to deploy it. We have to change that. So where is an option under web apps? You will see this option called as manager under this meta inf, this context.html. If you go here, if you see here, it is by default allowing 127.0.0.1. Without this, nothing will be deployed. So I'm just coming over here and then I'm trying to delete these people. Okay, I'm just making it as empty, and then I'm trying to go outside and I'm going to bin again, and then I'm doing a shutdown. Okay, so now I have restarted it. Let me try to run the job again. I'm trying to build now. See, this time I'm able to deploy the war file into this particular war app deployment. Right. So now what is application name? My application name is web app. So I'm going to the Tomcat. Under this, if I type web app, I should be able to see the output. This is a sample web page. So this is how you will generally do your CI/CD deployment, starting till the end with all the issues and scenarios. And let me quickly show you how the same thing is done using Azure DevOps. Right? Whatever we have done end to end is using Jenkins. Now let me try to do quickly on Azure DevOps how this is being done. Right? So I'm just creating a new project on Azure DevOps called as Jenkins demo. Okay, and this is my new project. And first thing, I just need to have this repository. So I'm just trying to import that Git repository URL, which we have tried it over here. So this is my, where is my Git? Okay, this is a hello world, and I'm copying this URL, and I'm going to Azure, and then I'm giving it over here. So I'm just trying to import the repository into my Azure DevOps. Okay, so it will get imported over here in less than a minute, and then this is my pipeline. See, okay, my repository is imported. Okay, so this is the same thing, and under the pipelines, okay, I need to create a new pipeline, and I'm using a classic editor option, and my repository is this one, Jenkins demo and the master, and clicking on continue. And here, instead of an empty job, I'm trying to choose a Maven project over here, because by default the template is ready for me. When I click on apply, automatically the steps that is required for my Maven build is ready. Okay, so I'm just trying to create this, and then I'm straight away trying to run this. I don't need to change anything because my template is already ready with Azure DevOps. But if you see on the Jenkins, I need to add step by step of it. But on the Azure DevOps, my template was already ready, right, when I click on it. So that's one of the advantage of using Azure DevOps. So now, if you see my pipeline, the Jenkins build is ready, and here artifacts will be automatically stored. In the Jenkins, if you would have seen, I added one more step called artifacts, but here artifact step is also there, which is publish artifacts. I click on the artifacts, and I see there is a target and only jar file is there. Why? Where? What happened to my war file? Because I need mainly war file, but the war file is not there. So I just need to go inside it, and then under this artifact step, sorry, under this copy files, it is copying only my jar files. I don't need a jar file. I am saying copy the war file. I don't need a jar file. And then when I run it again, automatically the war file will be copied, and I don't need a jar file, right? So this is my step. Once after this is done, my war file will be ready, which is similar as my Jenkins. Now I need to create a CD job. Okay, in the Jenkins, if you see, I created the CD job under post build actions on the same job itself. But on the Azure DevOps, you cannot create it on the same job. You can still create it, but there is an option called as releases. Under releases, I'm creating a new pipeline and I'm taking the input from this artifacts. I'm trying to add the artifacts from the build pipeline, which is my Maven, and I am trying to go inside this particular step, and then I'm trying to add a step called as Tomcat. This is the step which I need, which is again a plugin. If you remember, on the Jenkins, we installed a plugin called as deploy to container. In Azure DevOps, you have that plugin called as deploy to Apache Tomcat. So I'm just clicking on add, and then it comes over here. Now again, I just need to give the Tomcat URL, username, password, war file location, and everything, right? So what is a Tomcat URL? It is going to be 8090. Okay, and what? Sorry, this is a username. This is my URL 8090, and the username is admin, and the password is admin, and the var file is star dot star star slash star dot star. So I can just even give this. I can give this entire path, or I can give star star slash star dot var, like how I've given it over here. I can give this path also, right? And I'm just giving the same admin, and I'm just giving the Tomcat URL, right? Done. And my Tomcat above is 7 plus above. Right? Now, when I save it, and then when I create a release, automatically the same release will happen. So this is how you will replicate the same step that you have done in Jenkins using Azure DevOps. So whichever is easy, you can just follow it.
So, guys, this was our expert from Team K21 Academy. And if in case you have any doubts or queries regarding the topics discussed, then we have something really special for you. We have our free class on Microsoft Azure DevOps certification demo along with some Q&As. Under this interactive session, we'll learn about why to learn DevOps on Azure Cloud, what is DevOps, who should learn DevOps, and whatnot. So, if you want to register for this free class, all you have to do is just log on to k21academy.com/AZ40002. You'll be seeing this kind of interface. You just have to click on book your free seat now, select your event date according to your availability, add your full name, your email address, your phone number, and click on book your free seat now. Moving ahead, you'll be seeing this link on the extreme right. Save that link, add it to your calendars, and I'll see you in the free class. Till then, keep learning.